And you did try dating girls?
I did.
How did that go?
I dated a few girls just because, in the programs, in the programs I did, they tell you that one of the final cures for homosexuality is dating and then marriage afterwards. And, of course, I realised after dating girls that, girls, while I wasn't physically attracted to them, I felt that I couldn't hurt these girls because these were, amazing, wonderful girls, and I couldn't bear to put them through that. I couldn't bear to put them through living a lie when they could, have a guy that would be attracted to them.
So what made you realise that you didn't have to change? That was the realisation you came to eventually?
Mainly, when I realised I didn't have to change was probably after the second suicide attempt. I remember just crying out to God, and I just couldn't take it anymore. This is after, I'd been diagnosed with major clinical depression and had been really self-harming myself and all this stuff. And, I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't do it. And I cried out to God, and it's almost like a realisation came that I was loved just as I was.
That must have been a massive relief. Now, some of the stories that Ben's been talking about, Paul Martin might be quite familiar with. There's a bunch of different places that offer to change your sexuality. The Exodus International website, for example, tells you that you don't have to be gay, that freedom is possible, it says. But Paul Martin thinks that that's a load of crap, and he has a bit of a clue. He used to actually be the co-leader of the Victorian chapter of Exodus, and he's now a psychologist. Paul, the Exodus website has a bunch of testimonial success stories. What makes you sure that it doesn't work?
Well, I guess through personal experience, but also having experienced deep conversations with a huge number of guys and women who were in the groups that we held back then. And what I must say is I feel slightly ripped off because at that point, the men weren't asked to suck on any other men in order to get cured. So I think that was a problem.
You're bringing back the nipple story.
Yeah, but I'm thinking nipples. So, yeah, there was... so in terms of the success stories, one of the things that I found was that, there'd be these guys who'd be paraded in front of us with their wives and kids. And these are the success stories, these are the models. You can make it. All you need to do is, keep praying and keep believing and read the books and listen to the tapes. And every time you want to fantasize about a guy, you just imagine a stop sign. So eventually I think you almost get attracted to stop signs, which is very uncomfortable, I imagine, if you acted it out. So a whole lot of crazy stuff was going on. But then what I noticed was that, when I was, we're at a party or something, and one of these, a number of them really got a bit pissed over the years, and after a few glasses of vino, and would say to me, "You have no idea, Paul, a nightmare I'm living. What I'm doing is basically trying to live other people's expectations of me, and there's so much pressure on me to be the kind of guiding light and the one that's made it, and it's all a lie." And every single person who was, we'd parade around in front of other people's success stories were in fact faking it. And I'm not saying that's the case for everyone in the entire world. I genuinely think there are people with a bisexual orientation, and they are quite capable of having an intimate sexual relationship with someone of either sex. But if you're straight, you can actually have sex with guys, but you don't want to wake up next to them and snuggle up to them. And it's the same with being gay. I mean, you can have sex with a woman mechanically.
So, but for a time you thought that it was working. You got to be the co-leader of this state chapter. How do you get that far up an organisation which you say is built on lies, essentially?
Yeah, I think back then I was so relieved to find a place where, because in the past I was very conflicted. There's a whole other story in terms of Dad being gay as well. My mother was having a nervous breakdown over that. But I found that there was this internal conflict. Growing up in a Christian family where you go to Sunday, every Sunday you're told that homosexuals on the top 10 sin list amongst, murderers, and you get this, and so you grow up to become something you're taught to hate. And so becoming that, and then thinking, and then I went to Sydney and thought, look, I'll just see what the gay scene's like. And I couldn't relate to that either. So I thought, my God, I'm completely, the F word comes to mind, which I won't say, but completely stuffed, I guess is a better way to put it. And so therefore, I got this letter from this guy who ran the place, and but
that's how you're initially sucked in, though.
That's right.
According to you, I mean, that's how you put it. But why were you able to stay there so
well,
long?
I think because of my enthusiasm, because of the relief that I felt, it was such a wonderful feeling to be with this group of people, who really understood me. They were the only ones I'd ever met who didn't want to be gay, and they thought they could change. I thought, wow, I finally found my tribe, as it were. And so I think that enthusiasm and excitement for the relief and the end of conflict and wanting to, tell everyone about it, because, they're very clever at giving evidence to support what they're saying. And it's quite believable. When you look at their website, when you listen to the people, you watch the videos, you think, yeah, maybe I could do that as well. It is possible, so why not?
Keith Weigold would argue that, it's not just believable, that it's true. He disagrees with you, Paul. He's the director of Living Waters Ministries in Melbourne.
Don't expect a quick fix. This is something that's, it's going to take some time. How you are and the way you feel and the way you react to things has taken your lifetime up to this point, to get to.
Do you always, in every situation, advise that somebody change their sexuality?
No, we don't. We don't do that. We help people who are struggling with who they are. Mm-hmm. We don't say, yes, do our program and you're going to be fixed.
Is the goal for most people who come to you to get to a point where they don't have desire for the same sex?
Mm-hmm. Some do. The main reason they come, I think, is they don't want to be acting out anymore. They've been in the cycle of going to beats or whatever they've been doing, getting nowhere, feeling empty and alone and isolated and unfulfilled, and they come out of desperation and say, look, I need some help.
Do you ever advise them that in some situations maybe it's not the gender of the person that they're sexually attracted to that needs to be altered, but some other aspect of their behaviour, of their personality or their beliefs that's actually causing their unhappiness?
Yes, with most people it's very complex. It can be mother-father issue. It can be our reaction to something that's happened to us. It could be sexual abuse.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about the person's unhappiness, or you're talking about their attraction to the same sex?
Their attraction to the same sex, yeah.
What if the same-sex attraction isn't the cause of their unhappiness?
Well, we seek to find out, what are the traumas in your life? What were your parents like? What was your upbringing? How did you get to where you are? And we start to deal with those issues.
But the premise that you're starting with is that those things will cause the same-sex attraction, is that right? And that the same-sex attraction will always, in everybody, cause them a level of unhappiness?
No, not in everybody. I'm aware that some people are very happy the way they are.
Some people are happy being gay?
Yes.
Some people are happy being gay and Christian?
I guess so. I guess there are some. But the people that we deal with ring us because they're desperate. They don't want to be the way they are.
In some situations, might it be that some people are unhappy with their sexuality because of prohibitions against it within the church and against a sort of attitude within the family or people they know against homosexuality?
Yes, it can be. It can be, yes, yeah.
And how do you make that decision about whether or not somebody's unhappy because of prejudice or discrimination or prohibitions against homosexuality and not the homosexuality itself? How do you decide which is actually causing the unhappiness? How do you know?
It takes a period of time of getting to know the people, relaxing. The main venue that we use is a small group situation where guys are very, very open with each other. For most of them, for the very first time in their lives, are able to express the feelings that they have inside of them. We start to deal with those issues as they come up, but everybody is different. Yeah.
How many people of the people who come to you actually seem to change their sexuality or stop feeling an attraction to the same sex?
They don't change completely, or they don't become something different, not acting out any longer.
That's Keith Weigold. He was speaking there with Luke Williams, and Keith is the director of Living Waters Ministry in Melbourne. Paul Martin, how would you respond to that? You used to be in charge of a similar sort of foundation, Exodus, and you're a psychologist now. How would you respond to what he says?
Look, that is a brilliant and very evidence-based response to the interviewer's questions in 1935. That's brilliant for back then, but my God, they're stuck way back. There's no evidence to support what he's saying, that trauma can somehow have